know your terms? Hello, I'm Amy Zawi with the Jerusalem Connection Red Alert Report for August 16, 2023. To follow up on our conversation last week regarding the anti-Semitic tide that many university faculties, administrations, and associations are engaging, this week my goal is to examine a bit more of what it means to equate anti-Zionism with antisemitism, because those in politics or education or even the celebrity realm will often tell you that their anti-Zionism is not anti-Semitic. Much has been written to rebut this claim, but I want to share with you a written article that expresses quite succinctly a focused examination of the issues of anti-Semitism on college campuses, not just in the U.S., but in the entire Western world, or dare I say the whole world. And they are manifested as anti-Zionism. To summarize this article, which I strongly encourage you all to access and review carefully yourselves, we will touch on its main points. These points may sound familiar as we've often addressed them in other red alerts over the last decade or more. Point number one, many folks don't quite understand anti-Semitism when they see it. People do, though, recognize Jew hatred when they see it. Overt forms include denying or minimizing the Holocaust and swastikas used by vandals on places such as graffiti on gravestones or flyers on dorm room doors at colleges. The article also notes that anti-Semitism takes various forms within any given generation, and as such it goes unrecognized by some. The constant, though, is that Jews are the scapegoats and the world would be better without them. Before 1948, this was directed at Jewish individuals and Jewish communities. Today, the sentiment is directed at a collective, that is, the modern state of Israel. The modern state of Israel is indeed Jewish in its identity, which brings us to point number two, the idea of Zionism, and with it, anti-Zionism. You see, disagreement with politics or policies or particular activities of the government of Israel, which seems to constantly change anyway, is indeed a valid form of debate. But to deny the state's right to exist, which is at the core of anti-Zionist rhetoric and goals, well, that is a form of anti-Semitism. We don't call for the dissolution of any other state we disagree with, North Korea, China, Iran, Canada, you name it. Clearly, some have more egregious policies than others, but all fair game for criticism. But to claim that one's attack on Israel is not an attack on Jews, individually or collectively, is to be ignorant or willfully biased against what the term Zionist even means. As Christian Zionists, we align ourselves with the biblical, historical, and legal footprint that the land has in its connection to the Jewish people, including God's covenant with the people as well as the legal establishment of the modern state. Those who desire to boycott Israel, wipe it from the map, or label it a colonial state, well, may I quote from the article as to why erasing the Jewish connection to the land is indeed to engage in a blatant lie. They, anti-Zionists, do not appreciate that Judaism is an ethno-religion, a belief system inextricably connected to cultural heritage, traditions, history, and land. The connection between the Jewish people and the land of Israel permeates the Jewish calendar, the Jewish life cycle events, Jewish law, Jewish prayer, and Jewish history. It is impossible to separate our Jewish ancestry from this land. The Jews are indigenous to Judea. Just like Islam has a deep and historical roots in Saudi Arabia, specifically Mecca, so too can the same standard be held for the Jews as a historical, archaeological, and sinewy documents that connect Jews to the land of Judea for millennia. And this brings us to point number three. The effort to delegitimize Israel is a direct attack not only on the nation-state status Israel legally holds, but it also extends to Jewish individuals on college campuses, even those who are not Israeli or even occupy their time with issues regarding Israel. To quote again from the article, the surge in anti-Semitism on campuses that we are witnessing today is the result of an organized, well-funded campaign to delegitimize and destroy the Jewish state, and it is not about 1967 borders, settlements, or even the, quote, occupation, unquote. Those responsible for spearheading this harassment have one goal: to end Israel's existence as the homeland of the Jewish people. When you see the line, well-funded, I encourage you all to research what that means, and we've touched on it here in the Red Alerts before. Students for Justice in Palestine, for example, and many faculty organizations are funded by, some with obscurity, Hamas and other terrorist organizations, their funds and their founders, specifically because it is a soft war against Israel as well as against all Jews. The article goes on to give us 3 to-dos. 1, educate yourself regarding modern anti-Semitism and understand the IHRI's definition of anti-Semitism, which I will share with you here. This is indeed one of our clear objectives here at the Jerusalem Connection. 2nd, understand that what happens in Israel does not stay in Israel. Number 3, since this article is written in a sense to Jews, I will take the 3rd point and address the Christian community. This article calls for Jews to be educated, proud, and confident in their heritage and identity. When Jews are marginalized and excluded based on a fundamental element in their ancestral heritage, society must condemn it and harassment and discrimination. Our job is to stand in solidarity and alliance with Jews to defend against prejudice, discrimination, or hate of any kind. Number 4, the last point in the article, again, written to the Jewish community in a way, is that we must appreciate the richness and diversity of the Jewish peoplehood. We must understand that whether you are Hiloni, Dati, Haredi, Ashkenazi, Sephardi, Mizrahi, Yemeni, Smalani, we are all Am Yisrael, and Eretz Yisrael is our homeland. And I completely apologize if I mispronounced anything. As Christians who combat anti-Semitism, cherish and support our Jewish brothers and sisters, and stand steadfastly for the state of Israel's right to exist and have self-determination, we must embrace the entirety of the diversity of the Jewish people in our stance of solidarity and love. All forms of prejudice and discrimination against God's children in the world is evil and sinful. But the nature of anti-Semitism is particularly focused and demonic. It is an attempt to thwart God's plan as it is documented starting back in Genesis. Over the century, it took on various manifestations. The consistent target of the Jewish people since their founding is revealing a spiritual battle at hand. The Jewish population can be counted on as roughly between 1 and 2% of the global population at any given time in history. But they maintain the only consistent form of pointed annihilation by a variety of sources. And since 1948, Israel is a tangible target in addition to the Jewish people and its communities worldwide. Pray for the peace of Jerusalem and comfort ye my people, says Yahweh. Shavua Tov, and have a great week.